Hey, joining us now on the Marr Rock Show. I'm excited to have Becky from BB's Blowdown out of Atlanta, Georgia. Becky, welcome to the show.
Thanks, man. Glad to be here.
So, hey, your album showed up here at the Marr headquarters. It's an album called Truth and Lies, and I want to ask you all about that in a minute. But first, for people that don't know your band, give me a little bit of the history and the background of your band.
We're an Atlanta-based band. We've been around for a couple of years. The CD is our first professional CD. We did a couple of EPs before then. We're hitting the scene hard here.
Now, how did you guys come together? Are you a conglomeration of different bands from over the years, or have you all
yes.
done this a long time?
Yes, we sure are. My husband was actually from the Columbia, South Carolina scene. Back in the early 80s. I was from the Greenville, South Carolina punk scene in the early 80s. And our drummer's been around bands in Atlanta for quite a while. And we tried to stay in the musical vein throughout the years. And we said, you know what, we got all these great songs and stuff, let's just do it.
Now, so let's talk about Truth and Lies. It's a cool album, man, and it took me a little longer to get to it, and I apologize for that than I wanted to, but give us a little bit of the lowdown on the album. Where'd you record it, and who produced it for you?
It was produced at the Jamrin Studios in Columbia, South Carolina, and it was recorded at Lucky Dog Studios outside of Atlanta here.
Now, are these songs that you worked on specifically for the album? In other words, I'm always curious, you guys sit down and said, let's write a record, or were you kind of playing these songs at gigs and it just kind of came together and said, let's make an album? How'd that work? How'd that come about?
Well, it was funny because we actually got together to help a friend of ours who is a vocalist, and we were going to do some test tracks with him. And we got together with our drummer, and it clicked so well that we polished up some songs, plus we started writing new songs immediately. And it just happened. I mean, it was like kismet, you know what I mean?
Now, stylistically, you guys remind me of kind of almost like a throwback, I guess I'd say like 80s punk sound. Tell us a little bit about your style as you see it.
Exactly. We've got a little bit of the southern edge in there, for sure. But it's definitely basic rock and roll with a southern punk edge. A good friend of ours says we're outlaw punk, which is kind of funny.
Yeah, I noticed there's a little bit of that southern flair on a couple tunes. Now, the first tune I've been playing, Here I Am, though, just really seems to have a root in some of those classic punk bands. Are there any particular ones that seem to have been like an influence to you guys?
Oh, my gosh. The Unsatisfied out of Chattanooga, Tennessee, which if you've never heard them, I would love to get you some of their stuff because they're just awesome. And they were also kind of behind us wanting to do it again. And plus, you know, the regular Johnny Thunders, Sex Pistols kind of thing.
Now, I noticed I didn't hear any ballads on that album. I guess that's just not your guys' style, huh? Is that what we expected, a live show, just the hard driving the whole time?
Hard driving the whole time. Relentless, pretty much.
So, hey, I was looking through the liner notes here, and I noticed our buddy Heber from Kickin' Valentina in the liner notes. What's your guys' relationship to him?
He's a good friend of ours, actually. We've played a couple of shows with him. And he was actually at Lucky Dog Studios, and that was one of the reasons we actually recorded there, was because of Heber.
Man, he's a good guy, and we have had Kickin' Valentina on the show several times, and another great Atlanta band. And you know, for a while there, my counterpart, Ms. Marr, was living down there every other week. So tell me a little bit about the Atlanta rock and roll scene, because it's such a big city and a southern city. How's rock fit in down there?
Oh, it rocks down here. It really does. I mean, you've got everything from Kickin' Val to some really good up-and-coming punk bands. The Night Terrors, which are part of an old-school band called the El Caminos from here. It's just anything you would want is here, and it's getting ready to blow up in a big way.
Now, you referenced on your, I couldn't remember if it was in the liner notes or in one of your bios, you referenced something, I was looking at some different clubs, and I've only been to a few down there, but you referenced something about a club 68, or the 688 Club. Can you tell me what that reference was to, and what that means to that?
Yeah, 688 was it opened up in the 70s, 79, and it was huge. It was huge here. All the European punk bands played there. A lot of the Southern bands got their start there. As a matter of fact, Iggy Pop did a one-week residency there. And about
now, can I assume you went to some shows there? And what were some of your favorite memories from that club? What are some of your favorite memories of that club?
Some of my favorite memories were the Iggy one-week residency. I was actually living here then at that time, and I would get off work every night and walk down to 688 and see that. And they had things like the Restraints, which were another huge Atlanta-based punk band. There were things like 999 played there. Everybody you could think of in the late 70s, early 80s played there. It was incredible.
So I was going through your Facebook page, and I noticed there's several shows that you guys are sort of in competition to play. I saw something about Sunsets and a half marathon. And how are those going for you guys? Are there any that you're excited about and are in the running for?
I hope those two. Those are two. Yes, those are two of the big ones on the list. So hopefully we'll get a good feedback from somebody soon.
Now, when I air this, you will have already played the show you got this weekend. So normally I would go ahead and promote that show for you and say, hey, you got a big show coming up this weekend, because I know you do. But what else is on the horizon for you guys? Do you have other gigs booked right now? Are you shopping around the scene? Are you working on new music? What are you working on?
We're working on new music. We have another gig next month on February the 19th, which is a Thursday night. We'll be playing at the world-famous Claremont Lounge here in Atlanta.
So, do you get to go out to shows very often? I know, a lot of bands, some of them, are out in the scene all the time. Some of them are just too busy, trying to stay afloat in the music industry these days. Do you get out to see many shows these days? And
I do. I try. I do my best, Unfortunately, I'm sorry?
Who do you like to see when you go out? Who are some of the bands that you enjoy the most?
Oh, Swamp Juice is always a good fun one. Kickin' Valentina, the Night Terrors, the Unsatisfied, the El Caminos. The list goes on.
Hey, so, I've seen a fair number of female-fronted bands, female artists, but you don't see as many female punk players. So tell me a little bit about how you got into being in a punk band as a female artist, because you don't see as much of it in the punk scene.
No, you sure don't. I have a lot of friends growing up that were in bands, and I kind of gravitated towards that, and I was in a couple of garage bands in the early 80s that you never would have heard of, and I just loved it, and I've always gravitated toward bass, and that was just my thing, and that's basically how it came to be.
Now, I'm not trying to pigeonhole you into that punk role. It's really kind of interesting, your style. I really like, and I forgot how you said your friend said it was something like outlaw punk or something. But when you guys are writing, do you start from a rock base or do you start from the punk riffs? Like, what is the driving force in that process?
Sometimes Bruce, our main guitar player, we also have a new guitar player in our band, Shane Prentice. But Bruce, he'll either come up with a riff or something and we'll work it out in rehearsal, or we'll just do a jam, to get warmed up for rehearsal. And we've had several songs that have come out from that. It's usually just a rock standpoint. The punkiness is just kind of there.
So the song I don't know if it's really your first single or not, but just so happened to be the first one on the album was Here I Am. Is kind of my favorite. Now, do you have a personal favorite on the album?
It would either be Here I Am or True Believer.
That's kind of funny because those are the two songs that I starred that I was going to play on the show tonight. So, hey, I must have similar taste.
Awesome. That's great.
Well, Becky, this is Becky from BB's Blowdown. They're out of Atlanta, Georgia. And, hey, I want to thank you for being on the show so much tonight. Anything else you want to tell the folks coming up with the band that you want to know about?
Just check us out on Reverb Nation and Facebook. And if you're ever in the Atlanta area, come and see us.
Hey, Becky, thanks so much for being on the show tonight.
Thank you so much.